Bobby was perfect in every way, except those rare occasions when it felt like he was hiding something from me. Not long after the twins were born, Bobby's brother passed away. His brother, Leroy. So I was sure I was going to go with him to support him and, the family. But Bobby said to me, "No, Cheryl, I'm gonna go. I don't want you to go." It felt a little weird because I've always known that family, something happens in family, you support each other. But he told me no. Why does he not want me to be around his family?
She said to me, "Why are you trying to, separate yourself from us?" And I just said, sometimes I felt like I needed some space, but I was lying.
I'm thinking, does he have another family somewhere? Is it another woman somewhere? I just felt like he was keeping something from me.
I was taking this secret to my grave, and I only told one person at that time, was my sister. And she was asking me, "If you gonna ever tell Cheryl?" I said, "Yeah, on my deathbed."
I didn't know much of my dad's past. More so when I asked him certain questions, he would avoid answering it fully. There's one example I particularly remember. I was just trying to figure out why every person in his family had a different last name, and he had the last name Love. And he just said that we all grew up with different fathers or different families, and that's how he answered it.
My dad, I felt like he wanted to share, but just a little bit.
It was definitely times where it was challenging, whereas my dad was closed off and my mom was trying to push it out of him, and there was a lot of situations like that.
It was a cold morning in January, and I was making a hot cup of tea. My life at that point was good. We always had food on the table. I was very strong in my faith. I thought everything was fine. And then there was a knock at the door.
Me and Cheryl's bed was in our living room, because we gave the other 3 rooms to my kids. So I woke up with the noise.
It was so loud, like it was just like boom, 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 boom.
And when I opened that door, police officers, FBI, guns drawn. I'm like, oh my God. And they said, "Get back, ma'am. Get back, move back." And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on?
There was about 8 to 12 of them, and some of them were still standing outside, too. They just came, stood right next to the bed.
And I heard the cops say, "You had a long run." I'm like, what in the world?
They said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Bobby Love." They said, "No, your real name, your given name."
And they just said to us, "You think you know who he is, but you don't know who he really is."
Cop says, "Ma'am, move back. You don't know who this man is." When he said that, my heart dropped. This is it. This is what it is. All these years, I've been wondering what's going on. Here it is right now.
So she said to me, she said, "Bobby, what did you do?" I said, "Cheryl, this was a long time ago."
I didn't know what to do, and so I just went on to work, hoping that I would hear something from him or later or whatever. And then I went back home, and that's when the young lady called me, and she told me that she was Bobby's lawyer. She said, "Now, when you go and see him, you're going to look for Walter Miller." I said, "Oh, is that the facility he's in?" She said, "No, ma'am. No, that's not."
And my mom, when she looked at me and she said, "Jesse, Your father's real name is not Bobby Love. His real name is Walter Curtis Miller. And I was just like, what?
The next day, we were able to go to Rikers Island to see Bobby. And when he came down to see us, he was bawling, crying, and we were crying.
And we were just like, what happened? Like, what is all of this? What did you do?
I said, Bobby, what is going on? Tell me what this is, what's happening. He said, Cheryl, my name is Walter Miller, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you these things.
He laid it all out for us. Walter Miller was a convicted bank robber who escaped from prison and was on the run for the last 37 years as Bobby Love.
It felt like a dream, a bad dream.
So then that's when he started to just tell us everything. And me and my mom just sat there and we just listened to everything he had to say.
The plan was to hit this credit union right there in the middle of nowhere, and it was open. So we went in there to rob it, and then we took off.
Unfortunately, someone saw us and called the police. And we were on 85 highway, coming back. Police got up beside us, started pointing like this, pull over. We like, everybody just be cool. Maybe they just looking for somebody else.
So the cop walked over and he said, whose car is this? I was worried and I had a gun under the seat, the driver's seat. Ting said, man, don't do that. I just calmed down and the guy told me I was under arrest. Felt terrible. I knew I was gonna go back to jail. But now I'm going to a big jail. I'm not going to back to a youth center anymore.
I was tried myself and convicted of armed robbery. And I wound up doing 6 years, 6 months, and 23 days of that 25-year sentence.
In 1971, I was sentenced to 25 to 30 years, and they sent me to Central Prison in Raleigh.
He kept apologizing to me, and he said, I feel so bad, Cheryl, because I know that this is not you at all.
So he's just explaining everything to us, and I'm just sitting there talking to him, and I'm just listening very intently. It was just so many things that I was just learning about my dad. And he's telling me that when he was in that prison, he was laying in his prison cot, and he just kept saying to himself, like, I'm getting out of here.
It made me feel like I wanted to do something that I know I shouldn't do. In 1977, I was transferred to honor grade. It was less security, and next thing I know, they was assigning me to a job outside the gate, which was on the road, a road job. So I started saving my money, along with other money that my friends had sent me. So I had close to $100. November the 8th, 1977. I woke up knowing that I was gonna do what I was gonna do. I had a personal shirt, which I put under my green clothes. They started calling us about 20 minutes to 7. So I got on the bus, went to the back of this bus to sit down. They had one driver. The driver didn't have a man with him, like they do now. He gets up to the intersection. He's only doing about 6, 7 miles an hour. Right then, when the driver wasn't looking, I jumped off the bus. I ran into the woods. I took the clothes off on top that I had, and dropped him in the woods, and I came out on the other side of the woods there. And now I'm trying to find the bus station. And when I got to the bus station, I asked the guy to go in and buy me a ticket to New York. I gave him a $20 bill. And once I got on the bus, I sat in my seat and I went down. So you couldn't see nothing but this right here. And I was looking out the window to see if anybody had come from Central Prison looking for me at that bus station. That bus pulled out, I was so happy. And I kept looking around, looking out that window on both sides.
I couldn't for the life of me understand how the loving husband and father that I knew could have been a criminal and an escaped convict.
I arrived in New York City. I'm looking around, making sure that, is there any extra cops around here? And I didn't see any. But this girl had asked me my name. I didn't know what to say. So I kind of thought for a minute and I said, Bobby, just out of the blue like that, Bobby Love. I went up to the Bronx, up there on Eastchester Road. And I say to the guy, I say, man, I need to get my license. He said, okay. I said, you know what I'm talking about, man. And I got a driver's license. Some Bobby Love.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
When I think back on it,
Yeah.
how we used to get down.
I used to tell Dan, man, come on, man, let's play some 9-ball.
I remember that, huh? So after Bobby escaped, before I actually communicated with him, it was a big secret, and I'm not even sure I wanted to trust myself with the information because I know how critical it was, you know, for him. All that was important to me was knowing that he was okay.
Eventually, I had heard about a very good job at a hospital in Brooklyn.
That hospital was Baptist Medical Center, where Bobby and I met in 1984, and then got married and began our life together.
When my first daughter was born, it was joy, just pure joy.
Man, I was beside myself. I said to myself, you know, this is it. This is it, and this is gonna be my life. The reason I never told Cheryl my secret is because she would have told me to go back and turn myself in. But I wanted to change.
Bobby did change, but now, after 30 years of hiding his secret, he was sitting in Rikers jail on the verge of being sent back to North Carolina to serve the rest of his sentence. It was Christmas time, 2015, but it was hard to feel much holiday spirit. My husband Bobby was still in prison after nearly a year. And then a few weeks later, I got a phone call.
I was at work, and an officer called me, and I said, yes. And she said, well, I'm calling to tell you that Bobby is gonna be released. I was so happy, And Bobby didn't know if I knew or not. So that evening when he called, I said, oh, Bobby. See, he said, I know. I said, oh my God. So we just so elated.